There was a time when humans believed they controlled the dinosaurs. They built parks. They built cages. They built systems designed to contain something ancient. But nature does not follow human rules. Jurassic World, Rebirth begins with a world that has already learned this lesson the hard way. Dinosaurs are no longer attractions. They are survivors, creatures that have adapted, evolved, and reclaimed spaces humans once believed belonged only to them. The world has changed. Cities, forests, and islands now hold reminders of an ancient power that existed millions of years before humanity ever appeared. And yet, people still chase control. The story follows a new expedition sent into dangerous territory, a mission driven by curiosity, science, and something deeper, the belief that humanity can still understand what it once tried to dominate. But the moment they step into that world, the truth becomes clear. This is not a zoo. This is not an experiment. This is nature in its purest form. The dinosaurs they encounter are not monsters. They are survivors of extinction, creatures shaped by time, evolution, and instinct. Each movement reminds the humans of something they often forget. The planet was never built for us alone. What makes this story powerful is not just the danger of the dinosaurs. It is the realization that humanity must learn humility. Technology may create miracles, but it cannot replace respect for nature. The deeper message of Jurassic World, Rebirth, is about coexistence. For years, humans tried to dominate the natural world. They tried to bend it to their will. But the rebirth in the title represents something different, a chance to begin again with a new understanding. Sometimes progress is not about controlling the world. Sometimes it is about respecting it. As the characters face terrifying encounters with prehistoric predators, they also confront their own fears. The real challenge is not just survival, it is accepting that the world is bigger, older, and more powerful than human ambition. Dinosaurs represent that truth. They are living reminders of time itself, of how life evolves, adapts, and continues long after civilizations disappear. And that realization forces the characters to make a choice. Continue chasing control, or learn to live with the wild forces of the world. In the end, the rebirth is not just about dinosaurs returning. It is about humanity rediscovering humility, understanding that strength is not always dominance. Sometimes strength is respect. Sometimes strength is knowing when to step back. Because the world does not belong to us. We are only part of it. And in a world where ancient giants walk again, the greatest survival skill may not be power. It may be wisdom. Wisdom to understand that power without respect leads to disaster. Wisdom to recognize that the world we live in is older and more complex than anything humans can fully control. In Jurassic World, Rebirth, the rebirth is not only about dinosaurs returning to the Earth, it is about humanity being forced to confront its own arrogance. For decades, people believed technology made them superior. Laboratories created life. Scientists revived species that had been gone for millions of years. It felt like a triumph of human intelligence. But intelligence alone is not enough. Because every discovery carries responsibility. And when that responsibility is ignored, nature eventually reminds us who truly holds the balance. The characters in this story slowly begin to realize that dinosaurs are not just animals brought back from extinction. They are symbols of time itself, reminders that life existed long before humans, and will likely continue long after us. Standing face to face with creatures that ruled the planet millions of years ago forces a shift in perspective. Suddenly, humanity feels small. And that smallness is not weakness. It is clarity. Clarity that survival does not belong to the strongest species, but to the most adaptable. Dinosaurs survived for millions of years because they were perfectly shaped by nature. Humans survive because of intelligence. But intelligence must be paired with wisdom. Without wisdom, knowledge becomes dangerous. Throughout the journey, the characters learn that every encounter with these ancient creatures demands humility. The jungle does not follow human rules. The predators do not respect human boundaries. Every step into that environment requires awareness. Every decision carries consequences. And slowly, the expedition transforms from a mission of discovery into a lesson about balance. Balance between curiosity and caution. Balance between progress and responsibility. Balance between ambition and respect for the natural world. That is the deeper meaning behind the word rebirth. Rebirth does not always mean something new. Sometimes it means rediscovering something ancient. a forgotten understanding that humans are not separate from nature, but part of it. When that realization takes hold, the story becomes less about dinosaurs and more about perspective. Because the greatest danger is not the creatures themselves. The greatest danger is believing we are above the forces that shaped this planet. The dinosaurs represent a past that cannot be erased, a past that still carries power. And when humanity finally recognizes that power, something changes. Fear becomes respect. Control becomes coexistence. Arrogance becomes awareness. That transformation is the real rebirth. Not just for the world of dinosaurs, but for the way humans see their place within it. Because survival in a world shared with ancient giants will not depend on weapons, fences, or technology. It will depend on wisdom. The wisdom to understand limits. The wisdom to respect nature. And the wisdom to remember that sometimes the greatest strength is not domination, but harmony with the world around us. Because harmony is not weakness, it is understanding. It is recognizing that every living thing on this planet is part of a system far greater than human ambition. In Jurassic World, Rebirth, the dinosaurs remind humanity of something ancient and powerful. Nature does not need permission to exist. For millions of years before humans walked the earth, creatures like these ruled forests, oceans, and skies. They adapted to storms, climate changes, and extinction events that reshaped the entire planet. And yet, here they are again, walking the earth not as experiments, but as reminders. Reminders that life always finds a way forward. At first, the characters in the story see the dinosaurs as threats, massive predators, unstoppable forces of nature capable of destroying anything in their path. Fear is natural when something so powerful appears before you. But fear alone cannot guide the future. Fear leads to destruction. Wisdom leads to balance. As the journey continues, something changes in the way the humans see these creatures. The dinosaurs are no longer just enemies. They are part of an ecosystem reborn after centuries of human control. And that realization forces a difficult truth. Humanity cannot dominate everything. Some forces must be respected. The jungle, the ocean, the ancient instincts of predators that existed long before humanity invented machines or cities. These forces remind us that progress is not about conquering nature. It is about learning how to live within it. The rebirth in this story is not just about dinosaurs returning to life. It is about the rebirth of perspective. A reminder that the planet does not belong to one species alone. It belongs to life itself. And when humans finally understand that, the world becomes a different place, not a battlefield between technology and nature, but a shared environment where survival depends on awareness and respect. Because in a world where creatures from the distant past walk again, the question is no longer whether humans are powerful. The question is whether humans are wise enough to coexist. Dinosaurs survived millions of years because they adapted to their environment. Humanity now faces the same challenge. Adapt. Respect the balance. Or repeat the mistakes that nearly destroyed everything before. That is the true meaning behind the story. Not fear, not chaos, but transformation. A transformation in how humanity sees its role on this planet. Because when ancient giants rise again, they do not just bring danger, they bring perspective. And sometimes, perspective is the greatest evolution of all. Because evolution is not only about stronger bodies or sharper instincts. Sometimes evolution happens in the mind. It happens when a species begins to see the world differently. In Jurassic World, Rebirth, the rebirth is not simply about dinosaurs returning to life. It is about humanity rediscovering humility after years of believing it stood above the natural order. For so long, humans believed they had mastered the planet. Cities rose higher, technology grew more powerful, and science pushed boundaries that once seemed impossible. Reviving extinct creatures felt like the ultimate victory of human intelligence. But intelligence alone cannot control nature. Nature does not follow human timelines. It does not obey human ambition. It adapts, evolves, and survives in ways that are far older than any civilization. When the dinosaurs return, they bring more than danger. They bring perspective. Standing before creatures that ruled the earth millions of years ago forces humanity to confront an uncomfortable truth: we are not the center of the world. We are simply another chapter in its long history. And that realization changes the way people see everything. The jungles feel older. The oceans feel deeper. The sky feels wider. the world suddenly becomes bigger than human plans. For the characters in the story, this realization arrives slowly. At first there is fear, panic, the instinct to control what seems uncontrollable. But over time, survival requires something different. Understanding. Because every dinosaur encounter teaches a lesson. Some creatures hunt because it is their nature. Some defend territory because survival demands it. They are not villains. They are not monsters. They are simply living beings following instincts written millions of years ago. When humans finally understand that, the story shifts. The goal is no longer domination. The goal becomes coexistence. Coexistence requires awareness. It requires patience. It requires a willingness to accept that the world cannot always be shaped according to human desire. This is where perspective becomes powerful. When you understand your place in something larger than yourself, arrogance disappears, curiosity replaces fear, respect replaces control. And with respect comes wisdom. Wisdom that understands that life on this planet is interconnected, that every ecosystem, every species, every environment plays a role in maintaining balance. The dinosaurs are not just reminders of the past. They are warnings about the future. Warnings about what happens when humanity forgets its place in nature, when progress moves faster than wisdom, when ambition ignores consequence. But they are also symbols of resilience. Because dinosaurs ruled the earth for millions of years before a single human ever existed, their return reminds us that life itself is powerful, persistent, and constantly evolving. And humanity must evolve too. Not by becoming stronger predators, but by becoming wiser guardians of the world we share. That is the deeper meaning behind Rebirth. Rebirth is not about recreating the past. It is about learning from it. Learning that power without responsibility leads to destruction. Learning that curiosity must be guided by respect. Learning that survival in a complex world requires balance. As the story unfolds, the characters begin to realize that the greatest victory is not conquering the dinosaurs. The greatest victory is understanding them. Because understanding leads to peace. Peace leads to balance. And balance allows life to continue. The dinosaurs may be ancient, but their presence forces humanity to grow in ways it never expected. To see further. To think deeper. To recognize that the world was never meant to belong to one species alone. It belongs to the delicate harmony between all living things. And once that harmony is understood, humanity reaches its own form of evolution. Not physical, but philosophical. A new way of seeing the world. A world where ancient giants walk again, and where humanity must decide whether it will repeat its mistakes, or finally learn how to live wisely on the only planet it has.